How many people in this room would like to be in better shape or to improve something about your health? Raise your hand. Almost every hand. Raise your hand if you have started to exercise at some point in your life, no matter how briefly, and felt 10 times better for it. Mood, energy, confidence. Yeah? Yeah. Raise your hand if you have an interesting relationship with food. My hand is up, guys. My hand is up. I think every hand should be up on that one, to be honest. And the reason I believe every hand should be up is because I think we all have some challenge with food. None of us are perfect. If there was ice cream and chocolate cake here, I'm devouring it right now. That's the reality, okay? None of us are perfect. Raise your hand if you have ever got in shape and then got out of shape again. Yeah. Raise your hand if that was your plan. Raise your hand if that was your plan. No hands at all, right? No hands at all, because that's nobody's plan. We want to get in shape and we want to stay in shape. We don't want to get into shape and get out of shape again. That's nobody's plan. So that's what I'm here to help you with tonight. And I'm going to do my very best for you. And I hope what you've seen from the last 30 seconds to 1 minute is that we're all the same. We're all the same. You're not abnormal. You're not different. You're not alone. On the first few questions, every hand went up. On the last one, no hand went up. So we can move forward tonight, safe in the knowledge that we're in a safe place, because everybody here is here for the same reason. So maybe you were coming in feeling a little bit conscious. No need. We're in a safe place. We're all here for the same reasons. Everybody is experiencing the same challenges. We're all struggling with similar things. So I want you now to move forward this evening without any judgment, without any loathing, without feeling like I'm the one that's feeling a little bit conscious, maybe shouldn't be here. We're all here for the same reason. So it's a perfectly safe place, whatever happens here over the next hour, okay? I've got 5 hacks I'm going to share with you tonight. I had about 50. I was trying to bring them back down. Can't stay here all night with you, so I'll bring it down to 5. And what I want to do with these 5 hacks is help you to figure out what's really holding you back. Because a lot of you think that you're going to come in tonight and I'm going to speak to you about food, eat more vegetables, move a little bit more. I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to do that because you guys know that already. You don't need me to tell you that. That's not news to you. What I'm going to do tonight is help you to get what's out of your head, what's holding you back, get it out, and help you to move forward. That's what we're here for this evening. So we have a lot of ground to cover, folks. We have a lot of ground to cover. So I'm going to get straight into my 5 hacks this evening. I will encourage you at this point, write things down. If something lands, if something resonates, if you're going, that really is important to me, write it down. Because I'm going to throw a lot of information out tonight. A lot of it you're going to have forgotten by lunchtime tomorrow. So if something is in your head, put it on paper. Have something that you can come back to over the next few days, over the next week, and then you can look at how it's actually relevant to you. Let us get into our hacks. Hack number 1 is get out of your own way. That's hack number 1. Get out of your own way. Because the only person that's holding you back is yourself. It's nobody else in this room. It's yourself. It's not about eat more fruit and veg. It's not about move a little bit more. Of course, that's the nuts and bolts. But what's holding you back is self-sabotage. It's self-doubt. It's the stories you tell yourself about why you're not good enough, about why other people can do it but you can't, about how other people are more talented than you, about how other people are born naturally fit but you aren't that lucky. Those are the stories that are holding you back. So tonight we're going to try and step out of that. And the first step is getting out of your own way and giving yourself permission to be a priority. Let me tell you a little story. 2017, I started working with a client called Eleanor, who turned out to be one of my best ever clients. For a couple of years, Eleanor had been turning up to my fitness classes. I was running fitness classes. She was there week in, week out, and she'd always have this panic about losing weight. She was probably 18, 19 stone. And every January it was the same thing. It's like, this needs to be gone, and it needs to be gone now. And it's like it's gone on over years and years and years. But she wants 2 stone gone by Tuesday, and that's non-negotiable. And I remember she signed up for one of my online programs in 2017. And the first thing I said to her was, Eleanor, nothing is going to change until your mindset changes. Nothing is going to change until your mindset changes. because all she wanted was this solved immediately. Rush into results. Has to be gone now. Let me tell you how it went for her. Over the following 10 months, she lost 5 stone. I had said to her at the beginning, I only want you to average 1 to 2 pounds a week. And that was a huge mindset shift for her. Because she was the person that was always looking to rush, get there straight away. And a lot of people even listen now are going, but 1 to 2 pounds a week, that's nothing. That's not enough. When you slow that down, 1 pound a week, if you're averaging 1 pound a week, this time next year, you'll be 52 pounds lighter. That's 3.5 stone, guys. You still think it's not enough? So over the following 10 months, she lost 5 stone. She went on to lose another 2. 2021 today, she's 7 stone lighter. She's kept it off. She's a different person. And this is not even about the weight that's lost. This is about the quality of life. She's so much more confident in herself. She's positive. She's enthusiastic. She's loving life. She's having quality time with her kids. Her body language is totally different. That's what it does when you live your best life and when you actually step into being a healthier version of you, step into being a better version of you. It's absolutely insane what she's done. I remember speaking to Eleanor shortly after she kind of hit the 5 stone mark. And I wanted to have a chat with her about what was working well for her. What did she feel had made a huge difference? And this was good for my ego. I was super excited to hear this. It's good for my ego, but I wonder what it was. So we get on the phone. I'm saying, Eleanor, what do you think were the keys? What worked really well for you? Here's me, can't wait to hear this. And she says, well, you know, Alan, I have to say, at the start, I thought the whole mindset thing was a load of shite. Well, that's me put back in my box pretty quickly. But she did back it up. She said at the start, but it went on to change everything for me. Because she got her head around that thing that this is for life. This is not about getting in shape for the wedding or for the holiday or for Christmas or whatever. This is about changing forever. That's a scary word. But that's when your whole life will change. When you make that commitment that you're going to create a way of life that you love. You're not just doing something for the sake of losing weight for the holiday that's coming up. That was Eleanor. Biggest lesson from that, breaking it down. Breaking it down. So important, guys. The analogy I use here, if anybody's ever run, have we any runners in the audience? Will you stick up your hand for me if we have any runners in the audience? We have a few. The analogy I would use on this is, if you think you're going to turn up on a marathon day and run a marathon, 26.2 miles, 42-ish kilometers, without doing any training, how do you think it's going to go? Probably not very well, right? Probably not very well. What a lot of you are trying to do with your weight loss is exactly that. You're trying to jump from here to being 2 stone lighter. And you're not trying to do the reps in between. You're trying to make this huge leap. It's the equivalent of turning up on marathon day and never having done any training. You don't just turn up and run 26 miles. You get to 5K, you get to 7K, you get to 10K. You build it gradually. And that is also what builds confidence. Because with each little milestone along the way, you see, I can actually do this, I can achieve this, I'm capable. Whereas if you try to make that huge jump, you're going to fail. And you're going to feel like a failure. And you're going to start doubting yourself more and more and more. And the next time you come to do it, you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe you can do it. And that pattern repeats over and over and over and over. So as with the marathon run, you've got to look at your weight loss journey the same way. How do you lose 2 stone? You don't go from 0 to being 2 stone lighter. You go, can I get to 4 pounds? Can I get to 7 pounds? Can I get to 10 pounds? With each little milestone, that self-belief grows. That's the way you need to look at it, guys. That's how you lose 2 stone. You don't jump here to miraculously be 2 stone lighter. And if you do, it's probably going straight back on, to be fair. So what you want to do is go gradually, incremental improvements, build that confidence, show yourself that you're capable of doing it. That's the key. While we're speaking about marathons, I ran the Dublin Marathon in 2017. I'd never run a marathon before. I wouldn't consider myself a runner. But I decided I was going to take on the challenge to see, could I do it? It was a mental challenge for me. Am I capable of doing this? That was the only motivation I had to run that marathon. Am I capable of doing it? So it was just a challenge. It wasn't something I was hugely passionate about. I just wanted to see if I could. After I said I was going to do it, a couple of people who were in classes with me at the time decided they would also come on board. So we got two people. We got Mary and we got Breach. Both came forward and said, you know what, I wouldn't mind doing it. Because they'd kind of been recreational runners. I think in their head they thought maybe someday they'll do a marathon. And then when they saw that I was doing it, maybe they went, this is the opportunity, we could join. We got stuck into the training, it was going pretty well. And about 6 to 8 weeks before the marathon itself, we got a little bit of a shock. We had some bad news. So one of the girls, Mary, was diagnosed with cancer. Again, 6 to 8 weeks out, it was hard to take. It was devastating. It was devastating for her, it was devastating for us. When you're doing that type of training, you get to know people pretty well. So we've been there training on the good days, the bad days. You're running hills, you're bouncing information off each other. How was your training today? How are you getting on? Do you need help with anything? Tips, bits and pieces of advice. You get pretty close to people. So when Mary was diagnosed with cancer, we were left in a predicament. Are we going to actually do this? Like, what are we going to do now? And she pretty much took the decision out of our hands. She said, of course you're doing it. I want you to do it. You're not bailing out of it because of me. So we were going all ahead. The two of us went and did it. Up until that point, my motivation was only, can I do it? Mental challenge, that was all. After that, I had a much stronger reason to do it. We brought the Irish Cancer Society on board as a sponsor, and then you have a reason to do something. You have a strong reason to do it. Really strong reason. We're not letting these people down. These people need us. We're not letting them down. We have to do it now. It's not optional. We have to do it. And always what was in my head as well was that we have to do it for Mary. We have to do it for her. There was no way we weren't going to get across that finish line. We absolutely were going to crawl over the finish line if we had to. That was the approach we were taking. If she can't do it, we will make sure that we do it. And I remember so many times when I was out training, remember the Dublin Marathon is in October, guys, so the weather is not always great. When you're up to that stage of training, you're out doing 16 miles, 18 miles, 20 miles. It's pretty monotonous, it's tough going at times. But so many times when I was doing those miles and I was running high hills and it was tough, Mary would pop into my head. And I'd always think, what she would give to swap places with me. Like, who am I to complain about having to run this hill? That woman would give anything to be in my place. She would give anything to turn up on marathon day and run that race. And boom, I would get such a surge of energy. Such a surge of energy. That's what a strong why will do for you. We're going to work a little bit more on that later on, but I want you guys to figure out why this is important to you, what difference it's going to make to your life. And that becomes your driving force going forward. The story has a happy ending. Mary is well, recovery brilliant, she's in full health. She didn't get to run her marathon in 2017, we did it for her. Following year, 2018, she ran the Dublin Marathon. She did her Dublin Marathon after recovering from cancer. And do you know what, guys? She didn't just do the Dublin Marathon, she absolutely smashed it. She beat my time, I don't mind you telling you. And I'm absolutely delighted she did. I could not have been happier for her. That's what's possible, folks, when you actually believe in yourself. And when you bounce back time and time and time again. And also when you break down the goal. She had done the training in 2017, so even though she didn't get to run the marathon, she knew how capable she was of doing it. She had shown herself that she was capable of doing it. So turning up the next year wasn't a problem. And that's why I want you to break down your goals and show yourself that you can do it and don't overwhelm yourself. Get rid of that story about 2 stone. Get rid of it. Break it down. Don't overwhelm yourself. All you have to do for right now is get to 4 pounds. That's all you have to do. Once you have 4 pounds, then you go for 7. That's all you have to do. That story about 2 stone, have it as a vision, but no more than that. Don't let it drag you down, because what happens with most people is that it's so far away, it's way out there, that it just overwhelms you. It seems like it's too far away, you'll never get there. And then your inspiration levels dip, because you're not seeing yourself getting closer to it. Whereas if you're going 4 pounds, okay, that's not too far away, could possibly do that. You're generating momentum. Really, really important. Really important. I'm going to move it on to hack number 2. And I'm going to get you guys to do a little bit of work on this hack. Have we got pen and paper? Yep, good. Pen and paper in the room. So hack number 2 is get clarity on what you want. Get clarity on what you want. I'm going to give you a second to write it down. Here's what happens with most people when they want to lose weight. Put on their trainers, go out walking, go for a run. Don't really think about it beyond that. Lasts a week, maybe 2 weeks. And then they're back to square one again. It's all finished. Didn't work. 3 months later, they're starting again. So what I would love you to do this evening, if you do nothing else tonight, is get crystal clear on what it is that you're trying to achieve. Because vague goals will bring vague results. If you don't know what you're trying to do, you're not going to get there. If you don't know where you're trying to go, you ain't going to get there. You have to get crystal clear on what it is that you're trying to achieve. Does that make sense? Yeah, if you're nodding heads, you know what I'm talking about because you've probably been in that situation. So many people say, like, if I ask them, what's the goal? Say, oh, well, it's weight loss. Too vague. Too vague. If you tell me weight loss is the goal, it doesn't mean anything. What's going to happen the next time the cake has been handed around the canteen? You're going to say, yes, bring it over here, because there's no pressure on you. There's absolutely no pressure on you. If you get crystal clear on what you're trying to do, you know what you're aiming for, your decision making becomes a million times better. Because now you can see exactly where it is that you're going. So rather than saying, I want to lose weight, let's put a specific target on it. Something along the lines of, I'm going to lose 10 pounds by the 23rd of December. That's crystal clear. You know what you're trying to do. Do you see the difference? Yeah? Rather than just, I want to lose weight. I'm going to do this by then. And then when you get there, you can reassess. So what I'm going to do now is just going to get you to do a little bit of writing for yourself. I'm going to set your own goal. Now, I've given you an example. You don't all need to write down, I'm going to lose 10 pounds by the 23rd of December. That's an example. But I want you to think about what it is that you're trying to do. And if you want, you can write down two or three goals if you like, but let's get one main one that you're really working towards. And if there's a couple of smaller goals, like you want to run X amount or you want to go to whatever amount of gym sessions per week, write it down by all means, but let's get one crystal clear. So I'm just going to give you a moment now, just write down what the goal is for you. If it's a weight loss goal, I'm going to lose this amount by this date. Let's get clear on where we're going. Okay, I think most heads are back up, so maybe we can move on. So what I'm going to get you to do now is really think about why you want to achieve this. And this is important. And this is the step that most people skip. So when I spoke to you about my marathon experience, my why at the beginning wasn't that strong. It was just a mental challenge. But once I got a really, really strong reason to do it, performance levels went up dramatically. Decision making went up dramatically. So I would love you to get really, really honest with yourself here. And this can be quite a confronting question. But what I'm going to ask you to write is, what are the consequences if you don't achieve your goal? What are the consequences if you don't achieve your goal? I'd love you just to write it down. Take a moment. And it doesn't matter if you end up writing 10, 20 things. Please, guys, don't write, I'll stay the same. Of course you'll stay the same. I want you to go a little bit deeper, okay? I want you to write how this is impacting you at the moment. Okay? So I speak to weight loss clients all the time. They will tell me things like, I end up changing outfit 5 times before I go out. I'm pulling back from social occasions. I don't want to be seen in pictures. All of that stuff causes friction with the people around me. Sometimes they'll tell me the inner dialogue has got quite negative. They're very critical of themselves. They're judgmental of themselves. That's the type of stuff I'm talking about, not just, I'll stay the same. So please write down for me, what are the consequences of not achieving your goal? Okay, so what's on our page now? We should have our goals written. We should have our consequences of not achieving those goals. And I hope you've been thinking big on it, because now I'm going to prove to you right here, right now, that you can achieve whatever you've written down there. No more self-doubt. No more putting yourself down. We're going to achieve whatever is written down, and I'm going to show you right now that it's possible. I have to credit my mentor, Jerry Duffy, with this. I've seen this trick that Jerry picked up, so it's not my own, but I thought it was hugely powerful, so I want to share it with you guys. What I'm going to get you to do right now is write down the biggest achievements you've had in your life. So I want you just to jot them down very quickly. What are the biggest achievements you've had in your life? They probably will have even been about overcoming obstacles, most likely, or dealing with challenges potentially. So please take a moment, just write down, what are the biggest achievements that you have had in your life to date? Now what I want you to do is take the most difficult one, or the one you're most proud of. When you take the one you're most proud of, and I want you to rate it in terms of how difficult it was. So 1 is easy, super easy. 10, very difficult. Now I want you to come back to the goal that you've set tonight. So the goal that you've set about 5-7 minutes ago. I want you to come back to that, And I want you to rate that on a scale of 1 to 10 of how difficult you think it's going to be to achieve. So I want you to rate that on a scale of 1 to 10. Again, 1 being super easy, 10 being very difficult. Okay, is the number that you wrote down for that lower than the number for your biggest achievement? Hands up if it was. Yeah, the whole room, right? The whole room. So you've just proven to yourself that this is not that difficult. You can do it. You have achieved bigger things in your life. You have come through harder things. You've probably hit a 10 on some of those achievements so far, a 9, a 10. Eating more fruit and veg, not that difficult, guys. Not as difficult as what you've already come through. So whatever is on that sheet now that you've wrote down, your goal, you've set on paper, you are more than capable of doing it. And you've just given yourself proof of that because you've done harder things in the past. So now it's time to start believing in yourself. You've got proof. You know you can do it. We're going to do one more little visualization exercise before we move on to hack 3. I want to just take a moment to think about what your perfect life would look like. Now, your weight loss might be a part of that. If that's something that is important to you, that certainly will be a part of it because it will improve the quality of your life and maybe even confidence levels, maybe even relationships with the people around you, maybe the quality of your work, maybe your mental clarity. So it will be a part of that. But I also want you to think on a bigger scale. And I want you to think about what your perfect life would be. So I'm just going to invite you in a moment just to close your eyes. If you're not comfortable with that, you can look down at the floor. But please, in 3, 2, 1. So we're just going to close our eyes for a moment. I want you just to imagine your perfect life. What does it look like? Who are the people that are there? What does a regular day look like? How do you feel about yourself? You confident? You happy? Where are you living? Do you get away on holidays? What does your perfect life look like? I want you to get crystal clear in your own head about that. If you've achieved your goals, how has that impacted? Has it helped? How is it different to where you are now? Really connect with it. Connect with what your perfect life would look like. Who are the people involved? For a moment, I want you just to silence that little voice, that skeptic voice that always comes forward. I want you to silence it, turn down the volume. If we had a magic wand right now, and we could give you anything you want, what would your perfect life look like? Just take a moment to connect with it. If you've hit your weight loss goal, how has that impacted your life? How has that impacted how you feel about yourself? What does it mean to you? Okay, and gently open your eyes. Okay. So when things get difficult, I want you to think about that going forward. I want you to think about what your perfect life looks like. And on the days that you don't feel like doing it, you come back to that. You know that that's what you're working towards. You know that that's the reason you're doing it. That becomes your driving force. We're going to do one more practical little step on this before we move on. I would love you just to take 1 minute to write down 10 action steps you can take that you know are going to start moving you closer to your goal or to your perfect life. You guys have the answers within yourselves. You don't need me to tell you everything. You can easily list 10 things that you know are going to help you out here. I want you to just blank them down. Okay, so what you guys should have on paper now is a solid plan for yourselves. You've got a goal, you've got your reasons for doing it, you've got your action steps. Now it's up to you guys to implement. I can only do so much. It's up to you guys now to implement. That was hack number 3, getting crystal clear on what you want. Hack number 2, that was hack number 2. Hack number 3. Our clicker is not working. Brendan, will you give it a little flick for me there? Come on. Hack number 3 is the food commandments. So I've got 3 food commandments. I've actually got 10, but I'm going to give you 3 tonight. Don't overwhelm you, I'll give you 3. I have 10 commandments around food. I'm going to bring it down to 3, give you 3 of the most important ones. And my clicker is back, happy days. The first one is I will not eat food I don't need. That's the first commandment around food. I will not eat food I don't need. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? Here's what happened for a lot of people during lockdown. Lockdown came, we were working from home, working from the kitchen table, the cupboard was right there beside us, and we ended up standing there for half the day eating custard creams. Fair to say? Yep. That is what we call mindless eating. So what we need to do is bring awareness to that, eat consciously. We need to eat consciously. We need to bring awareness to what we're actually putting in our mouth and why we're doing it. A lot of that was boredom. It was convenience. We didn't even realize we were doing it. We were standing there, and before you know it, the whole packet of biscuits is gone. And you say, where were the biscuits? I only got them yesterday. And they're gone. So bringing awareness to that. And the key question I ask with all my clients, and there's a lot of them in the room tonight, I know, so I'm going to see a few smiles here, I've no doubt, because they've heard this a million times. Ask yourself the question, why am I eating this? Do I need it or do I want it? Yeah, there's a few nodding heads that have heard that before. Do I need it or do I want it? There's a huge, huge, huge difference. If you are hungry, you'll eat an apple. If you won't eat an apple, it's not hunger. So do I need it or do I want it? Let's bring some conscious awareness to how we're actually eating, why we're eating. Another little hack I gave the guys as well at that time was, if you're finding yourself doing that too much, constantly snacking on junk food, without really noticing you're doing it, but you kind of have an awareness, make a meal of it. Make a meal of it if you feel like you're doing it too often. I was just saying to them, if you're eating custard creams, put it on a plate. Make a meal of it. You have to sit down and have it as a meal. You can have them, no problem, but you got to make a meal. You got to make a meal of it. So then when you put the custard creams on the plate and you go and sit down, you have a lot more awareness around how much of those biscuits you're actually eating. It's a simple little trick, but it works. Because you start to realize, I didn't realize I was doing this as much as I am. Simple, but it works. So I will not eat food I don't need is the first of those commandments. Eat what you need. Don't eat beyond that. And even to the point, folks, if you don't need to be stuffed. Typically here in Ireland, we overeat. We load up big plates of food and we eat them until we can't move. Eat until you're satisfied. You don't need to be sitting there and not able to move from food. Okay, so I will not eat food I don't need. The second commandment, I will not reward myself with food. Has anybody ever been in a situation where maybe they were in the gym or they were out for a run and they did this incredible workout and it was absolutely insane and you were so proud of yourself and you were so pumped and you were feeling really, really good. And then less than an hour later, you were sitting at home on the couch watching EastEnders with Ben and Jerry and the whole tub was gone. Yeah, sounds familiar? Yeah, there's a few guilty looking faces there. A few of us saying, I kind of know what he's talking about. Why do we do that? Because we know that that's what's sabotaging us, right? We know that that's what's holding us back. Here's why we do it. We do it because it's instant gratification. It makes us feel good. It's that little dopamine hit from the Ben & Jerry's that you don't really get from broccoli, to be honest. It's that little bit of a pleasure hit. That's why we do it, because it makes us feel good. It's a little bit of a release from life. It's instantaneous. There's no hanging about. So it's easy. It's an easy reward. But if we want to truly change our lives and we want to achieve the body we want and we want to keep it forever, we have to get really, really good at delaying that reward. Of actually looking for the bigger picture. Looking to kick the reward a couple of months down the road, because there's much bigger rewards ahead if we can do that. If we can get a little bit more discipline into our lives and into ourselves and into our mind. If we can say, my goals that I've set out tonight, the goal of achieving everything I want, the goal of getting in shape, the goal of feeling better about myself, the goal of actually being able to go out and wear whatever I want and feel good in it. That's the real reward. And we've got to get good at delaying the short-term rewards if we want to get that end reward. We have to get good at that. We have to start calling ourselves on it. And bringing awareness to it is the first step. Because if you truly want to achieve the goals you've set tonight, you're going to have to get good at that. It starts with discipline. It's not easy. First few weeks, you're going to have to train the brain not to give in each time. Because if you give in each and every single time, you're going to be back in this room again this time next year, guys. Nothing is going to change. And again, it's why so many people will make short-term progress, but not long-term. Because you're not delaying that reward enough. You're giving in every single time. Is the long-term reward worth more than the Ben & Jerry's? Is it? And it's not for me to say. That's for you to decide. I can't tell you it is. It's not for me to say. It's up to you how important that is to you. It's not up to me. It's up to you. You need to decide if it's worth it. If it's not, fair enough. I'm not here to judge anybody. It's entirely up to yourself. But you need to figure out what you're actually getting on the other side of it if you do the work. And if you do the work long term. Don't reward yourself with food. You're not a dog. Don't reward yourself with food. There are other things you can reward yourself with. When you start seeing progress, go and buy a new wardrobe. Go and buy a new outfit. Go and have a spa day. Do whatever you want. But it doesn't have to be food all the time. Because that food is just a coping mechanism. And going back to the previous commandment, where I said I will not eat food I don't need, why do most people do it? They turn to food, they turn to things like alcohol, they turn to drugs, whatever, to make themselves feel better. And then we'll justify it and we'll rationalize it. And we'll tell ourselves, I deserve it because I've had a hard week. We've all had a hard week. We've all had a hard week. It's coping mechanisms that need to be in play. It's going straight to the source. And that's what we're looking to do tonight. Because it's very easy to stand here and say, don't eat Ben & Jerry's, have fruit instead. But what's actually causing you to have the Ben & Jerry's? What's causing you to come home every Friday night and have the bottle of wine, and then it rolls into Saturday and Sunday as well? For most people, it's an escape from reality. It's because they're not happy with something in their lives. So if you can figure out what the trigger is, why do I do this? Then you can go to the root of it, and you can deal with that. That's what's going to help you change long term, rather than just putting sticky plasters over it temporarily. So it might be that you're unhappy in your job. It might be that there are issues with a partner. There's conversations that need to be had that you're shying away from. It could be any amount of things. What is making you unhappy? Because very, very often, that's where people turn to food. It's comfort eating. And then they're hitting 3-4 stone heavier than they were, and they can't figure out why. Because they haven't took the time to figure themselves out, to get into their own head. So what I would suggest, guys, and one thing I work a lot on with clients, is stress management. So figure out what works for you. What's a better coping mechanism than turning to food? What's not going to sabotage you? And I'm going to say training because that's what I love. And I know an hour in the gym, I feel amazing after it. I feel incredible after it. That works for me. Getting out walking on the beaches works for me. I've started meditating lately, actually, would you believe? Works amazingly well. But it doesn't have to be those kind of stereotypical things either. Because what works really well is what you enjoy. What you enjoy. Make time for things that are fun. Make times for things that you enjoy. Don't get too busy in life that it's just work, work, work. And then you're turning to food to cope because you're not happy, because your stress levels are through the roof, because you haven't took time for yourself. So what's your coping mechanism? Again, it could be gardening. It could be reading a book. It could be anything. There's no right or wrong with this. But schedule in your day time for fun, time for enjoyment, time for bringing the stress levels down, and whatever works for you. Third commandment. I could have given you 10 commandments. Count yourselves lucky. So number 2 was I will not reward myself with food, so get good at delaying the reward. Kick it down the line so it's not the instant gratification. If you really want to change forever, you got to start playing the long game. Number 3, bit of a controversial one. I will not allow situations, circumstances, or other people to dictate the way I eat. What do I mean by that? There are going to be situations where you are maybe in a certain group of friends, for example, people that you've grown up with, people that see you in a certain light. You fit a role within the group, and that's what's expected of you, and maybe that's what you expect of yourself. And I've seen situations, particularly with clients, where alcohol is a good example. They started to make progress. They're doing really, really well. Their priorities are changing. They're evolving as a person. They've had a huge amount of growth. And they no longer want to be the person that goes out every Saturday night getting hammered. They don't want to be that person. That's me, by the way. But it's everybody else as well. It's quite a few clients as well. And what can happen is people feel really uncomfortable actually just sticking to their guns and saying to their friends or saying to people that they kind of associate with, that's not really that important to me anymore. And I think it's a fair judgment. What would people think? What if they think I'm weird? Let them think you're weird. Who cares? Let them think you're weird. I was never a big drinker. I haven't actually drank alcohol in almost 2 years now. It's not something I consciously made a decision on. It just doesn't really interest me that much. When I started not drinking first, I suppose you do get a little bit of resistance at the start. There's almost that little bit of, oh, sure, go on, you will. Oh, why wouldn't you? Go on, you will. And there's still that Irish thing, guys, of, you know yourself, if you're not drinking, you're sick, you're a recovering alcoholic, or you're pregnant. It's one or the other. It's still there. I don't think I'm pregnant. But guys, you have to stand up for what you want and what's important to you, not what other people want you to do, not to fit into a role, because that's where you've always been. For a lot of you, you'll be the person people ring to get a Chinese and watch X Factor. X Factor's not even on anymore, is it? You'll be that person. That's the person they see you as in the role. You're the person they call. And when you start to change your identity, and you're now the person that actually gets up on a Sunday morning to go for a hike or to go for a run, that doesn't always sit well with people. Because maybe it suits them better to have you in a certain role because you're more cracked that way. Benefits them maybe more than it does you. So for me, I personally started saying, you know what? It's important to me to get up and train tomorrow. That's where I get my buzz from. I don't get my buzz from alcohol. I get my buzz from actually training. That's what I enjoy. That's important to me. And when you start saying that, difficult at the start. But over time, it becomes more normalized. If you stick to your guns, but that's the key. You have to stick to your guns. Because the third time, the fourth time you say, no, I'm having a 7-Up, it's accepted. It's normal. If I go out with friends now and I say I'm having 7-Up, I'm not drinking, they'll buy me a 7-Up. They won't question it. There's no more of the go on, you will. It's just accepted. But you need to do what's right for you. And I'm only giving an example of myself here. You guys are all different. I'm not saying you have to give up alcohol or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying to you. Balancing everything in moderation, yeah? But if it is something that's important to you, that's only an example. But what's important to you is what you've got to stand with. And you've got to stand behind that. And you can't give any leeway. Because if you give an inch, people will put pressure on you. And you'll crack. And you'll go back to the previous commandment. The immediate reward. When it's not even what you want. And you wake up the next day and you go, why did I do that? I didn't even want it. Pretty stupid. I guess a lot of you are probably parents as well, are you? Here's another example. You go to a kid's birthday party, and you're doing really well with your training, and you're eating well, and everything is going amazingly well. And at the party, there's birthday cake being handed around. And you're kind of maybe a little bit weak in the language you use. And if you're weak in the language you use, they'll pounce on it. So if you say, no, I won't, guess what's going to happen? You will, absolutely you will. They're going to turn into Mrs. Doyle. They're going to go, go on, you will. And eventually you're going to go, yeah, sound. And 3 slices of cake later, you're going, I didn't even want that. Why did I do it? And then the guilt starts to kick in and the bit of self-loathing and you're going, I've undone all my good work. Even though you didn't, by the way, but that's the thought process you go through. You start to beat yourself up again. Here's a little tweak, guys. Use slightly stronger language. I don't eat that. I don't eat that. Or, better again, explain to them. Tell them you're training. Tell them you're enjoying it. Tell them it's going well. Why are people so secretive about this stuff? Tell them it's going well. I'm training, I'm eating really well, making a bit of progress, so I might just leave the cake if that's all right with you. Guarantee you 99.9% of people will leave the cake down and they'll say, fair play to you, tell me a bit more about that. Have you any tips for me? A little bit of a tweak in language makes a big, big difference. But it comes back to you being steadfast in how important your goals are to you. And again, I can't decide that for you, that's up to you. So I will not allow situations, circumstances, or other people to dictate the way I eat. You know what, a phrase I've heard so much over the years that really I kind of cringe at? People eating food so as not to offend somebody. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I'm not going to eat it just not to offend somebody. So you're eating food that you don't want or you don't need, and that's totally at odds with your goal, not to offend somebody. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think sometimes you can politely say, actually, do you know what, I'm doing really well. I'm just going to give it a miss if that's okay. Make sense? Yeah, okay, good. We're on the same sheet, yeah? Hopefully some of that's landing. Again, if stuff is landing, please write it down, folks, because you will not remember it tomorrow. You go out of here feeling great, feeling like, yes, I've learned loads, feeling like, yes, I'm more motivated, but tomorrow you can't remember any of it. So please write it down. We're ready to go to hack 4. How are we doing for time? Okay, get a move on, Alan. Yep, gone too far. Hack 4, fully commit. If a job is worth doing, it's worth doing right. Guess what's not fully committed? Fully committed is not, I was going to go for a run, but it might rain in the next 3 days, so fuck it. That's not full commitment. That's not going to get you anywhere. Half committed is not committed. That's my motto on everything. Half committed is not committed. If we're going to do a job, we're going to do it right. And to be honest, guys, if you're not going to fully commit, I'd say don't even start. Because what's going to happen, if you half commit, do okay for a little while, then you go back to square one. You're actually no further on. So fully commit or don't commit at all. If a job is worth doing, it's worth doing right. Go all in on it. Be 100%. If you're kind of committed, you'll kind of get results. And I'm sure some of you will have seen that in the past. Kind of want to lose a few pounds. Yeah, I'll kind of give it a go. But you're half in. And your results are half what they probably should be. So if we're going to do it at all, we're going to fully commit. And what people say to me so often in relation to weight loss, in relation to fitness, in relation to training, but I'm not really motivated. Yeah, I would, but I'm not motivated. Welcome to the club. 7.5 billion of us. You're not exclusive. There's 7.5 billion of us. Nobody is motivated every single day, guys. Please get your heads around that. Nobody is motivated to go training every single day. And if we're only going to train on the days that we're motivated, we are not going to make much progress. Because in reality, motivation is a temporary emotion. It comes and goes. Most of the time, it's probably not going to be there. So if we're relying solely on that, we're in trouble. So what we need to do is we need to find a way to remain productive in the absence of motivation. I'm going to repeat that. We need to find a way to remain productive in the absence of motivation. That's the only way you're going to make long-term change. How do we do that? 2 things. Number 1, we draw on inspiration rather than motivation. Inspiration is the bigger vision that we've got for ourselves and for our lives. It's what we've written down here tonight. That's the bigger picture. That's our inspiration. So when you're finding things difficult, you reconnect with what am I trying to do, where am I going, and why am I doing it? And why does it matter? And what are the consequences if I don't follow through? Reconnect with that. That is your inspiration. That's the bigger vision. And the next thing we got to do is we got to figure out how we make this work on a daily basis. How it's going to be something that we do for life, not something that we do occasionally for a week and then take a month off and then go back the next month and do another week or 2. We need to figure out how to make it happen every day. Here's how you make it happen every day. You make it habit. You make it habit. You make it a non-negotiable part of your day. It's not optional. It's something that has to happen. It's not something you're just going to do if Coronation Street's not on and you have a bit more time in your hands. It's not something you're going to do if you're in the mood. It's not something you're going to do if you're feeling it. It's something you're going to do regardless. You're going to show up day after day after day, regardless of how you're feeling, regardless if it's a case that it's easier to sit beside the fire and not move. You're going to show up anyway. Because when you keep showing up every single day, the compound effect is massive. That's what's going to get you there. So for a while, until you get to the stage where it's so normalized that you don't even think about it, you need to make it non-negotiable in your head. You need to make it non-negotiable. Write down those 2 words, please. Non-negotiable. If I was to ask you guys, are you going to brush your teeth before you leave the house tomorrow morning? I'd hope most people will say yes. It's not optional. It's not something you need to think about. It's something you just do on autopilot. If you were to say to me, I'm not motivated to brush my teeth. Sounds a bit daft, right? I'm not motivated to brush my hair today. That's what I want you to... I won't say anything. That's how I want you to think about your training. That is how I want you to think about your training. That it is a non-negotiable part of your day. It's the same as brushing your teeth. It's just something you do. That's when you will ingrain it in your life. Every day I've got my diary. I've got it scheduled out. I've all my client responsibilities in there. I've everything I need to do for the day. But the very first thing that goes into my diary each day is my training hour. And you can call that selfish if you want. I don't care. I don't think it is selfish. Because if you are looking after yourself and if you feel really good, your energy levels are good, you're more positive, you're full of life, you're more confident, you're more energetic. That rubs off on everybody around you. Especially parents, please take that on board. Because I know so many parents just feel like there's this guilt about actually putting themselves first. It's the least selfish thing in the world. Because you're in better form. And everybody around you then is in better form. Apart from the fact that you're setting a good example as well. So please be okay with that. Does that all make sense? Yeah. Okay? So we need to make it non-negotiable. It needs to be every single day. It needs to be normal. And what you are also going to have to do is take responsibility for yourself. Personal responsibility. So we got personal responsibility over here, and then we got victim mentality over here. So they're the opposite of each other, but they're night and day. And if you want to truly achieve your results and truly change your life, victim mentality is not going to work. Victim mentality, blaming other people, making excuses. It's never my fault. It's always something else. It was raining, so I couldn't do it. I couldn't possibly find an alternative. That's victim mentality. It's the stories you tell yourself about why it's not your fault, but why it's always outside influences. When people take personal responsibility, everything is on you. Everything is on you. You no longer look for somebody else to blame or something else to blame. You accept that it's you that has to be answerable. And that can be challenging. That can be scary. But that is also incredibly empowering, because when you do that, you realize that your life is in your own hands. Your destiny is in your own hands. And you can go wherever you want. And if you don't do that, other people are going to make your decisions for you. And guess what, guys? They don't have much plan for you. If you take responsibility for yourself, everything is on you, your decision-making becomes so much better. It becomes elevated beyond belief. Have we any business owners in the house? Yeah, we've got a few hands up. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Growing a business, you absolutely have to take full responsibility. Because you are the one that everything comes back on. Sometimes it's not even your fault, but you're still at fault. You've still got to go, how could I improve? This is on me. Let's give you an example. If you guys came in that door tonight, and the girls over here, who are absolutely lovely girls, by the way, if those girls were really rude to you and they didn't even smile or say hello and they're just grabbing cash for books, you're going to go out of here and you're going to go, that event Alan Williams put on, what's his problem? Geez, they were just taking money. They didn't give it, whatever. It's my name above the door. You're not going to bother finding out the girls' names. It's my name above the door. So when you run a business, you are responsible for everything. Absolutely everything. And that is the greatest learning curve of all. And you know what? It's the most empowering thing of all. Because there's no way out. There's nowhere to hide. Your standards go up tenfold. And when your standards go up, you get to where you want to go. So I want you guys tonight to make a decision right now. I want you to decide that you are the CEO of your own life. From tonight on, you are the CEO of your own life. You are making every decision. You are taking responsibility, whether it goes well or it doesn't go well. You are the CEO of your own life. No victim mentality. Victim mentality doesn't move anybody forward. There might be comfort in it, but it doesn't move anybody forward. CEO takes responsibility. There's no way out. That's what's going to change things for you. So please make a note of that now. We're all very good at taking credit when things go well. I'm pretty sure you were also there when it didn't go so well. You were there on that day too. So please take responsibility. Yes, take praise when things go well. Enjoy it, love it. That's what life's about. But when it doesn't go so well, it's not about judgment, it's not about self-loathing, it's not about beating ourselves up. It's about saying, what am I going to learn from that? And what can I change going forward? That's all it is. What can I learn? And then I can improve next time. Fully commit. I've been speaking for a while now, so I'm going to get you guys involved again. Let's have a little bit of fun. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, roughly. I'm going to get you to look around the room and remember everything that's brown in the room. That's what I'm going to get you to do. Let's have a little bit of fun. I'll give you one. You start with my shoes. Okay, there's one for you. Give you 30 seconds. I want you to spot as many brown things as you can, and I want you to remember them. 30 seconds, let's go. Have a look around the room. How many brown things are in the room? Remember them, don't let them go. Spot every brown thing in the room. 10 seconds. And remember, you've got to remember them. Spot them and remember them. 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm just going to invite you to close your eyes again for a moment. And if you're not comfortable, look down at the floor. Hang on to all those brown things. Remember what they were. Don't let them go. Remember what they were. Hang on to them. Don't let them away. 10 seconds. Remember all those brown things that were in the room. Open your eyes, and I want you to shout out all of the red things that were in the room. And now you hate me forever. Here's why I did that, folks. There's a lesson in it. There's a lesson. What you focus on is what you're going to attract in. What you focus on is what you're going to attract in. So I asked you guys to look for all the brown things in the room. So you didn't see the red things, you didn't see the blue things, you didn't see anything, only what you were looking for, which was the brown things. If we are constantly in that negative frame of mind, we're going to see more and more negative. If that's how we think. As humans, we have an 80% negative bias. That's a lot. So we need to retrain the brain and we need to look for the positives. Because if we're constantly looking for negative, we're going to attract more and more and more of that. If we look for opportunities, we'll see them as well. I'm a big believer, most people get equal opportunities. It's just that some people are actually looking for them, other people are letting them pass by and they never see them. So what you're looking for is what you're going to get. So right now, let's get focused on what's going to move us forward rather than what's actually holding us back. Let's stop focusing on the negatives. Let's stop beating ourselves up about what we didn't do or what failed today or what didn't go so well. And let's go, you know what did I do well? Let's bring some awareness to it. And I got one more hack for you. Hack number 5. Hack number 5 is be grateful. Pretty simple, yeah? Be grateful. We've all got an amazing quality of life. Yeah, we'd all like to be in better shape. Of course we would. Yeah, we'd all like to improve our health. But guys, getting a great body is one thing. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with wanting to strive for that. But please also appreciate what your body does for you. It's the most valuable thing you own. And we treat it like shit. And we don't do anything about it until something goes wrong. We put work before it. We put money before it. We put wealth before it. Do you know what else we put in front of it? Trying to impress other people. A lot of the time, people that we don't even like. How stupid is that? Your body is the most valuable thing you own. If you don't have your health, you've got nothing. You've got absolutely nothing. That's the reality, guys. If you don't have your health, you've got nothing. So please appreciate what you have right now. A little bit of a mindset shift, yeah? Please appreciate what you have. Everybody in this room has amazing things going on in their life. Absolutely everybody. And we need to bring awareness to that on a daily basis. Not just get stuck in a rut. Think about it once every 6-12 months. Think about it on a daily basis. Write down a couple of things you're grateful for each day. Makes a huge difference to how you think. Makes a huge difference to how you view your life. Be grateful for what you have. Let's say something happens tomorrow. God forbid. You're in an accident. You lose the use of your legs. what do you think you would want more than anything in the world? If I said to you, here, you can win the lotto, or you can run 100 meters. If you don't have the use of your legs, that is all you're going to want. You would give anything to run that 100 meters. You would give anything. You wouldn't care about money. That's all you would want. That would be the most important thing in your life at that moment. And you know what, guys? We can do that. We can do that every single day. We have the ability to do that. Not everybody does. Do you realize how lucky we are? We're absolutely blessed. Some people can't do that. We can go out, we can run, we can walk, we can cycle, we can do whatever we want. And we're sitting here talking about not being motivated. Come on, guys, we're better than that. Little reframe. People talk about having to train. You don't have to train. It's entirely optional. You don't have to train. But let's get clear on something, guys. It's a gift to be able to do it. You don't have to train today, you get to train today. You don't have to go to work today, you get to go to work today. You don't have to sit in a plush hotel with like-minded people, you get to do that. And that is a blessing. And it's a blessing that not everybody has. So please be grateful for what you have. There's nothing wrong with wanting to strive for more. That's good. I'm very ambitious myself, I love striving for more. But where we need to balance it is that we're also contented with what we have. So if you can say, I'm happy with what I've got, yes, I want to improve, but I'm also happy with what I've got. That's where contentment is going to come from. Because there's always going to be more. And if you're constantly chasing more, there's always going to be somebody in better shape. There's always going to be somebody better looking. There's always going to be somebody with more money. There's always going to be somebody with a bigger house. There's always going to be somebody with a better car. One day maybe you buy a yacht, and then you see somebody over there with a bigger yacht. And you always want more. So yeah, it's good to strive for more to improve, but please, please, please also acknowledge what you've got, because that's where you're going to find contentment. I'm going to take one moment, folks, before we finish. I just want to chat to you a little bit about some of the work I do. Maybe some of you might like to hear, you might be interested in coming on board, I don't know. If it is a case that you would like to work with me, or you'd like to have a chat, I'm just going to get you over the next 20, 30 seconds, just literally take your phone out right now, go onto my social media, Facebook, Instagram, Alan Williams Coaching, just shoot me a private message with the words weight loss, and I will get back to you within the next week or so. It's probably going to be manic, but if you do, please just drop me a little message as I'm speaking right now. So what we typically do is we take in clients who are looking for long-term change. They're looking for creating a life that they love and that they can sustain. Not looking for quick fixes. If it's a quick fix, don't message me. We're looking for people who want to create a way of life around it. There are people sitting in this room tonight who have done amazing things. We have one person in the room who's lost 5 stone this year. We have other people who have lost 4 stone, 2 stone, 3 stone. There are people who have done phenomenal things. You know what? They backed themselves. They took that hard step, that first step. Because they were at a point where they weren't happy in their lives. They were at a point where they were pretty low. I know there are people in this room who were very, very unhappy in themselves. And we worked on it. We worked on building them up, not just losing weight. We had people who, again, as I mentioned earlier, pulling back from social occasions, isolating themselves, getting inside their own heads, becoming really, really unhappy over time. We had people who took charge, people who fully committed, people who took the time to work on themselves, to work on their mind as well as their body. And the difference in them is night and day. They're like different people. Their body language has changed. They're smiling, they're happy, they're contented. Their confidence levels are through the roof. They're soaring. That's what it brings. People think it's just about, oh, I want to lose a few pounds. It's not. It's about the quality of your life. That's what it is. It's about the quality of your life. It's about the quality of the time you get to spend with the people around you. Time with your kids. All of that stuff matters. So that's what we do. Work with people over a long period of time to help them change forever. So if it is a case that you would be interested in having a little chat with me or want to work with me, just drop me a little message on social media. Hit me with the words weight loss. That's all you have to do. I'll know what it's about and I'll get back to you over the next week or so. You know, tonight, things have nearly come full circle for me. We'll be back here, Radisson Hotel, launch my second book. There's something you guys might not know, a lot of you in this room might not know. I worked in the gym downstairs for 8 years. So this hotel, I was here for a long time. And tonight it feels like things have come all the way around. Some of you will know I ran a fitness class called Thump Boxing, which was one of my first ventures in fitness classes. Went really well, did it for a couple of years. The very, very first Thump Boxing class was in this room. It was in this very room. It's a long time ago now, but that was where it started. I took it out then and went self-employed, tried running fitness classes in different places. I've told this story to death, I won't bore you with it again, but things were really, really difficult for a few years. Really difficult. Probably the toughest part of my life. First couple of years in business, really, really, really challenging. There were times I was pretty close to throwing in the towel. There was times you're going, tried it, didn't work. Mortgage to pay, bills to pay, pressure's on. Very, very tough times. I was starting to come through it. 2015 came, got the opportunity of a lifetime. I got to open my own gym in 2015. And I thought that was all I had ever wanted. That was my big dream in life, was to have my own gym. So I'm going, yes, I've landed, I've made it. This is all I want to do. This is my life sorted forever. I'm the gym guy, I'm the fitness guy. Now I've got my own gym. Life's sweet. Do you know what happened, guys? I fell flat on my arse again. Because that's what life does to you. That's what business does to you. And when that happens, you've got a couple of choices. You can feel sorry for yourself. You can play the victim. You can give up. Or you can say, you know what? It's a setback, but I'll find a way around it. That's the better option. I knew within 3 months after I'd signed that lease that it wasn't going to work. I made a stupid, sentimental decision. It wasn't feasible. I was 3 months in, I said, this isn't going to work. I knew I was bailing out. But something else happened that year. And something that shocked me. I realized that that wasn't what I wanted to do in my life. And forever and a day, my identity was wrapped up around this. The fitness guy, the gym guy, this is all I want. When I had it, I didn't want it. I didn't want to be picking up dumbbells off the floor forever. That was what I discovered. Because I felt so passionate about developing people, developing our mind, personal development. I had done so much work on myself that I felt like I need to share these messages with other people. And I can't do that on the gym floor. So I need to get out and I need to start spreading my message to the world. Anybody who knew me when I was younger will tell you I was very, very, very shy. I was the last person in the world you would ever put on the stage. Hand on heart. I was the last person in the world you would ever see on the stage tonight. I had to overcome that, and I had to make a decision that if I wanted to spread my message to the world, I was going to have to get in front of people. I was going to have to speak to groups. I was going to have to face that challenge head on, no matter how uncomfortable it was, no matter how difficult it was. And when you step into the uncomfortable thing, that's where you grow. If you keep shying away from that, you're forever stuck where you are. You're forever frustrated. You're forever feeling like you're being held back. You've got to face it head on. Some of the courses I run now, probably some of the most popular in the country, the original basis for them was in that year in the gym. That was where they were formed. They've developed an awful lot since. But when I was in that situation where I had to make some use of my time, because I was in that gym, which was in a remote environment, we had no internet, we had no phone signal, we had no television, we had nothing. So how was I going to spend my time? I started reading a lot. I started writing a lot. I was journaling every single day. I was reading books to beat the band, and I was taking notes. I was going, how is this relevant? How can I use it? And I made the best use of that year that I possibly could. From the outside looking in, anybody within the industry would probably tell you that was my least successful year. I would tell you that was my most successful year. Didn't get paid a penny that year. Don't care. That was the year that helped me figure out where I wanted to go with my life. That was the year that made me realize what I was truly passionate about. And that was the year that was the launch pad for a lot of what I do now. And I found something that I absolutely love, that I never would have probably if that year hadn't happened. I look back now and I'm so glad that gym failed, because if it didn't, I'd still be there and I'd still be unhappy and I'd still be doing the same thing over and over, because I think it's what people want to see. What people say is right. He's successful because he owns a gym. Not for me. Much happier with what I do now, getting out, spreading the word to people. So facing those fears of public speaking were hugely challenging. I'll never forget the first gig I did. I had made this decision, I'm just going to face it, I'm not going to back away from it. Organised a free event in Sligo, put word out on social media. Literally just thought of it, put it on Facebook, boom, I'm going to do a free talk. Who wants to come along? This is what it's about. In my head, there's going to be nobody there. There'll be nobody there. But I thought if I get 5 people, I'm going to go ahead anyway, because it'll give me a little bit of experience, might make me a little bit more comfortable in front of people. You know what? They might even get something from it. And maybe they'll spread the word. On the night, 120 people turned up. I'd never spoken in public before. I had never had any help with speaking. I didn't know what I was doing. And even though we had those people booked in advance, I still didn't have any belief in myself. I didn't think they were going to turn up. Even though their names were there, I was still going to the venue that evening going, these people aren't going to show up. I really believed that. And on the night, I was backstage, and the girl who was running the event for me, she was coming in every few minutes. And I could hear the noise building outside. And I'm getting more and more anxious backstage. And she's coming in every few minutes, she's going, Alan, there's 50 people out there. And then she's going, this is amazing, there's 70 people out there. She's going, there's 100 people out there now. And she's so excited. And I'm backstage, and I'm shaking. I can't even control myself. I'm shaking. Palms are sweating. Heart is boom, 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 boom. Every fiber in my being was telling me, don't go out onto that stage. All of the instincts within my body that are designed to keep me safe were saying, don't go out there. But I knew I had to do it. And I had to do it for myself, not for the people that had shown up. I had to do it for myself. I said, if I can do this, it's the first step. So I made myself go out there. I physically dragged myself out there. One of the most uncomfortable things I've ever done. I was out there for about 90 minutes. Wasn't the greatest gig I've ever done. It's your first one. It's probably not meant to be. But you know what, folks? I got through it. I got through it. And when you get through it, you start to build a little bit of belief, a little bit of confidence. Your brain starts to think differently because now you think, if I can do that, what else can I do? If I can do that, what else can I do? You start to stretch the vision because you survived, because you did the uncomfortable thing and you grew from it. If there's something that's uncomfortable for you guys, I want you to face it right now. I want you to make a decision to face it, to step into it and just do it. No matter how scary it is, just do it. You're going to grow from it exponentially. Started doing a few more gigs. Word started getting round, started getting a little bit busier. And then one day I remember I was at home having lunch. And I got a phone call. And it was Kieran, the head of the PR agency I was working with at the time. And he said to me, News Talk want to talk to you. And I had that reaction that I almost had when I was backstage on the first gig. I was going, I can't do that. I'm going to be found out. I'm not good enough to go on News Talk. We all have that. The self-doubt. The imposter syndrome. But I fired straight back at him because I knew I had to do it. I fired straight back at him, tell them I'll do it. I didn't even give myself time to talk myself out of it. Because if I did, I would have come up with 101 reasons not to do it. Like a lot of you guys may even have been thinking about working with myself or working with the coach. You'll find 101 reasons not to do it. But all you need is one good reason to do it. So I tell them I'll do it. And then I'm kind of thinking, well, it's not too bad because, I'll have a bit of time to prepare. I'll be all right. So I said to him, when is it? He said, this evening at 5:30. It's got lovely, lovely. So went on that evening with Chris Donoghue, Sarah McInerney. It was 5:30, probably the busiest time for radio in the country. Went quite well. It was fine. It was fine. 2 days later, I get an email. And the email is from BBC Radio. And I look at the email, and it says, we'd like you to come on this show with this presenter. We'll pay you X amount. I go, what? You what? I was going, this must be sent to the wrong person. And then I had a little look in more detail on it. And then I sussed it. I was going, this is not the BBC. This is some of the lads taking the piss. That's what it is. So I typed out a little 2-word reply. I didn't send it, thankfully. So a couple of days later, we're speaking on BBC Radio. The show has 250,000 listeners. Since then, I've also spoke to crowds of over 1,000 people. And this is not me telling you I'm great. This is not that at all, because I'm the exact same as you. As we've discovered at the start, when we put our hands up and we said, who has an interesting relationship with food? My hand was up the same as yours. All I'm saying to you is if I can go from being the quiet person in a group who's too shy to even speak, to going on BBC Radio with 250,000 people, to speaking to crowds of 1,000 people, if I can do that, what the hell is holding you back, guys? What's holding you back? You can do whatever you want if you step into that fear, if you step into that discomfort. It's the way you perceive things. You tell yourself you're not good enough. There is nobody sitting at your shoulder right now saying to you, you're not good enough. The only person that's doing it is yourself. You've got to believe yourself. You've got to back yourself. Whatever you've written down tonight, you can do. You have to start believing it. Reality is a byproduct of your mind. Reality is a byproduct of your mind. It's how you perceive things. If you start to believe in yourself, you can do it. 100% you can do it. Let me tell you now, guys, there are a lot of people out there who have not turned up tonight, who will not be here next month, who will not be here in January. They're saying to themselves, shall I wait till January? It's too close to Christmas. They're adding another 2 months on to a 1.5-year lockdown. They're procrastinating, they're kicking it down the road over and over and over, and they will find excuse after excuse after excuse not to do it. When January comes, there will be something else. There is never a right time. The right time does not exist. The right time is now. Create a little bit of momentum for yourself. Just step into it. Just face that challenge and step into it fully. The right time does not exist. From tonight, you guys are the CEO of your own life. You're taking full responsibility. You're stepping forward. You're achieving everything that you've set out on that sheet of paper tonight. And I want you to believe in yourselves, because I believe in you. I believe in every single one of you, and I know you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Anybody in this room can achieve whatever it is that they set their mind to. Whatever you've written down on that piece of paper, that's entirely down to you. And the only thing that's holding you back is what's going on between your ears. And you thought you were coming in tonight and I was going to tell you about portion sizes and I was going to tell you about fruit and veg. But you also know that that is not the problem. The problem is the self-sabotage. The problem is the stories. The problem is the limiting beliefs. It's the imposter syndrome. I've experienced all of them. I'm on this stage speaking from experience. That's why I'm sharing my story with you, because I wanted to help you. That's why I'm sharing it. From tomorrow forward, not from Monday, not from September, not from January the 1st, from tomorrow, you guys are going to start stepping into it. You're going to do something that is going to create a little bit of momentum and create a little bit of a shift in your life. Whatever you wrote down on those action steps, tomorrow is day one. You're not waiting for Monday, you've waited long enough. Tomorrow is day one. I want you to go out there and I want you to step into the fear. I want you to step into the anxiety. I want you to keep getting uncomfortable, because you're going to keep growing. And you're going to achieve everything that you want. And that starts tomorrow. Thank you, guys. Good night.